Greetings, and welcome to the Gasparato Group Leadership Development Series. My name is Mark Gasparato, and thank you for watching these videos in preparation for our upcoming workshops. During this video, I will introduce the Johari Window model, and the topics I will cover are the Johari Window purpose and benefit, the inner game components and where the Johari Window exercise fits in, the Johari Window 4 quadrants, and the exercise instructions. By completing the Johari Window exercise, you get the following benefits. Enhanced self-awareness. It helps you understand how you see yourself and how others see you. In terms of personal growth, the insights gained from the Johari Window can help you identify areas for personal development. Improved communication. It encourages open and honest communication, strengthening relationships and feedback channels. Increased trust. Build trust with others by sharing information about yourself. And reduce conflict. Understanding different perspectives can help resolve misunderstandings and conflict. This graphic represents the inner game or components of leadership of self. And the interrelated and supporting components are grouped into three areas, which you see as circles. Starting with identity, who you are, and identity is at the bottom because it provides the foundation upon which everything else is built. Consciousness, or how you think and feel, and lastly, action orientation, or how you execute. The Johari Window exercise that you will complete looks at your traits. As such, it fits in to the identity circle. This is the Johari Window, this quadrant or 2x2. It is constructed with the following variables: known to self, not known to self, known to others, and not known to others. So starting with the arena, this quadrant represents information about yourself that is known to both you and others. And it includes things like your behavior, skills, attitudes, and public knowledge. The idea is to make the arena as large as possible, as large as appropriately possible. And when it is as large as possible, then you are aware of your traits, how you show up, and also others understand you well. And you do that by seeking feedback from others. And the direction of this arrow here represents making the window bigger, not the direction of feedback. You also make it bigger by relevant disclosure of what you're thinking and feeling. And finally, there's this concept of shared discovery into the unknown. More on that later. The next quadrant is your blind spots. And this quadrant represents information that others know about you that you are unaware of. So it could be habits, defense mechanisms, or personality traits you don't recognize in yourself. And blind spots occur due to low self-awareness, youth, being new to a role, or worst of all, denial or narcissism. And sometimes people are simply unaware. They don't know what they don't know due to a lack of feedback. And before we blame others for a lack of feedback, please ask yourself if you make it a safe space to receive the gift of feedback. While typically blind spots are about defensive traits or tendencies that we don't do well, there are instances when we are blind to constructive things that we do. Let me give you an example. You may be very hard on yourself, and yet you're more compassionate with others, but you don't see yourself as compassionate because of how hard you are on yourself. Yet other people see that compassion in you because that's what they experienced. So that's an example of a blind spot of something that you actually do well. Next, we'll move into facade. And this quadrant represents information that you know about yourself that for various reasons are hidden from others. So it might include fears, secrets, or past experiences that you don't feel comfortable sharing. Or perhaps you're simply quiet and reserved. As I mentioned earlier, you reduce facades with relevant disclosure. So that's not the same thing as oversharing or emotional leakage. The key word here is relevant. What would benefit others to know about what, how, and why you are thinking and feeling a certain way, so they can help support you in your decisions and actions. And facades can be helpful when they mask a defensive trait. So another example, you may be feeling anxious, or perhaps you even suffer from anxiety. However, you've learned to mitigate those feelings. There may be an internal struggle going on that you're capable of handling yourself, so you don't let others see or be impacted by that. And lastly, let's move into the unknown. The unknown, this quadrant represents information that is unknown to both you and to others. And so it could be unconscious motives, untapped potential, things that have not yet been discovered about you, or things that are buried because of trauma. For the purpose of this exercise, nothing goes into this quadrant. However, as you become more adept at exploring yourself, traits may start to emerge from the unknown into the known. The next 4 slides are all about how to complete the exercise, starting with completing the self-assessment. So using the list of traits provided, and you'll have that on that PDF handout, select the top 10 to 15 traits, negative, neutral, and positive, that you believe apply to you. If there are some that you don't see on this list, then you can add them as well in the margins. As a note, don't pick more than 15, including any added ones, or else the feedback becomes muddled. Next, solicit feedback from others, which we refer to the instructions as raters. So give the feedback package. That'll be a separate PDF document to 3 to 5 others in your network. We recommend either getting feedback from different people in your life, perhaps a supervisor, direct report, peer, family member, friend, or you can select the members of an intact group so the feedback is targeted to that specific area of your life. It's your choice what you want to do in terms of where you get that feedback. And once completed, these individuals are to return the highlighted list of traits back to you. Next, you print out a complete Johari window for each of your raters. Another note, some participants choose to incorporate all the feedback from the various raters into one window. However, what we found is that can become quite congested. So for the traits identified by both you and the rater, you list these in the arena quadrant. Now, some of the traits, depending on their interpretation, could be similar or adjacent. That was quite a list that you were given. For example, the traits of accommodating and flexible could be seen as being of the same quality. So if this occurs in your lists that you get back, then you get to choose how you want to display the data. You don't need to be completely literal about it. Next, for traits identified by only you, you list these in the facade quadrant. Okay? So you listed these traits, but other people didn't. And for traits identified only by a rater, list these in the blind spot quadrant. And for the purposes of this exercise, nothing will be listed in the unknown quadrant. And the last thing you're going to do with this exercise is complete the reflective questions. The first question, what are your greatest insights from this exercise and why? So what do you want to do with this information that you've just received? Next, which blind spot or facade trait or traits will you now try to be more consciously aware? This is a self-awareness exercise. And so now you've got some hints, some insights on some things you do. And if you can become more consciously aware of them, you may be able to either mitigate a defensive trait or reinforce a positive one. And lastly, if you pick people from different parts of your life, do you behave differently when interacting with different groups of people? And it's okay if you do. However, is it intentional? And if it isn't, is that something that you want to look at? In conclusion, this video covered off the underlying theory of the Johari Window model that will provide you with feedback to increase your self-awareness regarding your traits. I look forward to meeting and learning with you in the future, and until then, please take care.